told me, he says, look, don't talk about stuff that you shouldn't be talking about.
In 1986, Billy Cutolo Jr. is a young soldier in the Colombo crime family, trained to keep quiet, no matter what.
If you tell, if you become a witness, there's going to be a hit contract out on you.
But when his father is murdered by his own mafia family, Billy takes matters into his own hands.
I jump out of the car, I'm making a beeline across the street.
There was no way he was going to just say, ah, they bumped my father up, but that's okay, it's part of business.
Billy Cutolo Jr. tells how he risks everything to take on an entire crime family and avenge his father's death.
You made two mistakes, I said. You killed my father, but you just didn't kill me.
It's 1985, New York City, the birthplace of the American Mafia. 5 mobs run the streets here, and the Colombo family is the youngest and smallest. Not the FBI's top priority, at least not yet. Brooklyn, 1980. Billy Cutolo Jr. is a teenager who looks up to his father, who happens to be a Colombo family mobster. His father, Wild Bill Cutolo, is a vicious killer with undeniable charm.
My father was Bill Cutolo, better known as Wild Bill, from 11th Avenue. He was the underboss of the Colombo crime family. He was my hero. He was a good man, and he was a fair man, but he was a gangster. There's no way around it.
If you didn't know who Wild Bill Cutolo was and just saw him on the streets of New York, you could very well take him for a Wall Street banker.
Dennis Griffin is a former investigator turned author who specializes in writing about the mob.
Wild Bill was really two different people. He was Wild Bill the businessman, and he was Wild Bill the mobster, and he was very competent in both areas. He had one of the most dangerous crews in New York City.
The Colombo family needed guys like my father. When I say that, that means that somewhere along the line, you had to hurt someone. And when I say hurt someone, I mean you had to put them down.
But the violent world of the Colombos is not what Wild Bill wants for his son. In June of 1988, Billy Jr. graduates from community college.
I was the first person in my family to ever go to college. I've never seen my father so proud. It was a feeling that, it was a side of him that I didn't see very often. Right after the ceremony, he says, you know, where are you gonna go from here? Man, I said, I did these 2 years for you. I said, I'm done with the books, man. I want to earn.
Billy Jr. wants to follow in his father's footsteps and join the mafia.
I want to be your guy. All of a sudden, he paused. I see, like, his face, like that big smile that was on his face kind of, like, turned into, like, a frown.
As a dad, he has reservations. As a mob underboss, he sees the potential in his son. Within a week, Billy Jr. is working for the Colombo crime family and loving the power.
You feel like you have the world by the balls.
Wild Bill does his best to teach his son the ways of the mobster life, warning him about rats wearing wires.
He told me, he says, look, don't talk about stuff that you shouldn't be talking about. My father used to tell me, the worst voice that you want to hear is yours being played back to you, especially from the government.
While most mobsters believe mafia loyalty is rule number 1, Wild Bill has a lesson he thinks is even more important.
My father told me, he says, you know, for every guy you put down, 2 come back. For every 2 guys you put down, 4 come back. For every 4 guys you put down, 8 guys come back.
It's advice that will come back to haunt him. In 1991, the Colombo family's in a bloody struggle for power.
On the one side, you had Carmen Persico, who was the boss of the Colombo family. However, Carmen was in prison, and his desire was that his son, Ellie Boy Persico, would assume the reins of the family when Allie, who was also in prison, was released.
On the other side of the war is Victor Orena. He's been the acting boss for the Colombos, while the Persicos are in prison.
Mr. Orena was more of a businessman, less violent, and he felt the entire family would prosper if he was in charge and remained in charge.
Wild Bill's a businessman, too, so he and his son back Orena and the idea of making more money. But the war is vicious. A dozen mobsters are killed in the streets. 2 innocent bystanders are gunned down. 2 years later, October 1993, the Persicos have won the war, and Alley Boy is the new acting boss. Wild Bill is back on the streets, forgiven for backing the wrong side. Or so he thinks.
Grudges in that life are never forgotten.
The new boss of the Colombos, Alley Boy, waits nearly 6 years before making his move.
My father had a routine where we used to meet on Wednesdays before we'd go to our social club on Wednesdays. Haircuts, manicures. I got to the hair salon that day, and he wasn't there yet, so I beat him in 08, and he didn't get back to me.
Billy's father has been summoned to a meeting with Alley Boy. Both Alley Boy and his underboss, Jackie DeRoss, haven't forgotten that Wild Bill opposed them during the Colombo War. They now see Cutolo Sr. as a threat to their hard-won power. Alley Boy and DeRoss order his murder, leaving Billy Jr. to wonder why he hasn't heard from his father.
I paged him a couple more times, and I'm waiting about 20 minutes in between. I was looking for the other guys that used to meet us up there, like my friend Frank and Jojo. And I said to them, did any of you guys speak to my father today? And they both said, no, we haven't spoken to him yet. Now I'm actually in the salon, and I'm beeping him from there with an 08 911, 08 911. He's not getting back to me. So about 2.5 hours goes by, he's still not around. Now I'm starting to get a little panicky. My mind is going, I'm worried, something's not right.
May 1999, Wild Bill Cutolo, underboss for the Colombo family, is dead. Murdered by his own mob family. His son, Billy Jr., is frantically searching for his father, unaware of what has happened, but suspecting the worst.
I was just praying that he lost his beep or he forgot the phone or whatever. I jet over to the club. And I pull into the driveway, and boom, his truck is sitting there. And the truck looked like it was wiped down with a sloppy rag. Now, I know my father, his cars were always meticulously clean, all the time.
Suddenly, he's sure something bad has happened to his father.
Now I'm sick. You know, my stomach is sick, my head is sick.
From the start, Junior suspects one of his dad's best friends, Jackie DeRoss.
Jackie DeRoss was a very close friend of Wild Bill Cutolo's. In fact, Wild Bill had been the best man at Jackie DeRoss's wedding.
Junior soon discovers that his suspicions are justified.
And the night Wild Bill disappeared, Jackie DeRoss came in the social club and he did the unthinkable. He walked right over and sat in Wild Bill Cutolo's chair.
And that night, Jackie sits down at the table, my father's chair, and he's eating a piece of Italian bread. And I'm looking at him. He's sitting there chewing, a smirk on his face. How you doing, Jack? Good. You speak to your pops today?
Jackie doesn't bother hiding the truth.
My heart, I felt like someone sucker punched me in my chest, and I didn't know what to do. That's when I knew that he's not coming back. He's gone.
In that instant, Cutolo knows his father has been betrayed by the mob. The next morning, Billy Jr. grabs a gun and hunts Jackie down.
He's standing on the corner with his cheap $2 cigars. I jump out of the car, I'm making a beeline across the street, and he sees me. And I walked up to him, I'm like, 3 heads are gonna go for my father. 3.
Billy Jr. has every intention of shooting Jackie in the street, but his father's most important piece of advice pulls him back.
You kill 2 people that harmed you, 4 come after you. If you kill the 4, 8 come after you.
But hours later, he's thinking about revenge again. This time, Alley Boy, the head of the Colombo family, is the target. Junior's parked outside the boss's house, waiting in his car. On his rearview mirror, there's a picture of his wife and son.
Allie comes rolling up in his Benz, parks, gets out, my gun's in my lap. And the way the light was hitting the picture, my wife's face and my son's face were crystal clear. I'm like, if I go out and do this now, knowingly, with my son at 2 years old, then I deserve whatever I have coming. But I chose not to.